Well, good morning, everyone. It is now September the 23rd, Monday morning, and I wanted to come on because some of you have been asking me, okay, where do I sign up to apply for this grant? And the short answer is your city or county does, naming you as identifying your property. The long answer is this. So I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to just read it out. I sent this to the governor's office. I've also sent it to our representatives and our senators. I've sent it to some county supervisors, and then I'm wanting this to get out to all the city administrators, because it's going to take a county or a city to stand in and apply for you as a sub-applicant. So just let me read this, and I think it'll make some more sense. And also, I'm going to share this outline on my Good News for Bay St. Louis. It's a Facebook page that has been dedicated to this whole saga, because I do believe it's not going to only be good news for Bay St. Louis, but it's going to be good news for all of Mississippi. We're just going to come in. Any infighting that happened is done. We're all going to be adults in the room, and we're going to make this happen for the citizens of Mississippi. So with that being said, put on the specs that I need, and here we go. I'm going to share what I shared with the governor's office. So the opening statement was this: Good morning, Governor Reeves. This is a, quote, school of hard knocks learned, end quote, outline for what Mississippi needs to do to get the FEMA and the SWIFT grant into the hands of homeowners to raise their homes. I am asking once again, and I left also a voice message this morning, to meet with you by phone, Zoom, or I can come to you. I am the only citizen of this state that has gotten this far, and I know I hold great insight as to what it takes to achieve the grant, as well as the full scope of desperate frustrations the citizens in flood-prone areas are experiencing. But we now have light at the end of the tunnel. So I look forward to giving everything I've learned to you to help so many other deserving families in the great state of Mississippi, because I know that this is it starts with FEMA, and Governor Reeves is with the state, but I also know that he's our head for this state, and I know he has the ear for everybody, and he can be that collective adhesive to pull it all together. So the outline for the grant. I said, Marcus from the governor's office asked if I could write out a blueprint to share with the governor and the staff. My hope is that the federal and state levels will work together to get the word out to all areas of Mississippi. The outline is as follows. And then in quote, I said, before I begin, I would like to stress that Bay St. Louis put the cart before the horse. And now look, folks, that's just because a lot of us walked into this not fully understanding what it was. So it's kind of a good thing in a way, because we may have been too nervous to walk into it any other way. But we are working to correct this. For any other city or county, and for Bay St. Louis going forward, it is so important to start by selecting a grant admin company to follow the correct procedure. And time is of the essence. Now listen to this, folks, and get with your county and your city. This is where you have to be your own advocate. Time is of the essence, because the FEMA portal for the Flood Mitigation Assistant Grant allotments will open mid-October and close the end of February, because I called FEMA and they said their fiscal year ends this month in September. So that's why the portal will reopen in October. So y'all need to get your groundwork done now. City or county, here's the outline. The city or the county puts out an RFP, request for proposals, for a grant administration company. And then in parentheses, I wrote, the city or county will be identified as a pass-through entity by FEMA. 2, companies submit their proposals. City/county reviews proposals, interviews companies, and selects one by a scoring system. 3, city admin approaches city or the county council to approve selection of the company, and then the city issues a city contract. 4, grant admin company comes on board with contract and proceeds to identify properties that will qualify for the flood mitigation assistance grant or the SWIFT current initiative grant. Now remember, the FEMA grant is not disaster identified, so they have allotments every year now. The SWIFT is disaster identified, but their wording is identical except of how they're utilized, how they're needed. Now listen. Because a lot of you have been asking me, what do you have to do to qualify? This is what you have to qualify as a homeowner. Ready? Excuse me. These properties need to fall under one of the following. A, you have to be identified as a severe repetitive loss. And if you are, then you can shoot for 100% coverage for your grant, for your home to be raised, or in some cases, the federal government will buy out your property. B, repetitive loss. 90% is covered. The homeowner has to come up with the other 10%. C, you're projected to flood. If that's the case, then you get 75% from a grant to raise your home or buy out your property, and then you have to come up with the other 25%. Now, the way we became identified was getting with our floodplains manager for our area. So you're going to start there and get them to give you a letter if you identify as severe repetitive loss, or if you're projected to flood, okay? Now, and then another absolute no way around it, if you want to qualify for this, properties must have National Flood Insurance Protection Insurance. So NFIP at the time of applying for the grant, and then you have to keep that insurance in perpetuity throughout the entire process, okay? But I did check with we have NFIP. Right now, I'm going to be honest with you, we pay, $3,300 a year for our just the flood insurance, not homeowners insurance. But our insurance agent told us they crunched the numbers, and when our house gets raised, our flood insurance falls from $3,300 a year to $1,400 a year. So right there, that's a giant reason to have this done, right? Okay. So then let's go on. Let's see, that was 1, 2, 3, 4. This is number 5. Grant admin company writes the grant proposal for these identified properties and submits to FEMA, and includes in the grant proposal, included in the grant proposal is the estimate of the house raising. So the estimate will have to go along with that, because I know they asked for it. And some property owners, you may choose to have a buyout offer. We were offered that, and we chose to raise our house instead. Okay, number 6. Once the award letter is received, I'm sorry, y'all, something in the air. The grant admin company continues to oversee the house raising through its entirety, which includes awarding the house raising jobs according to procurement requirements. And Mississippi procurement is different, so it has to go along, as of right now, unless things change, it has to go along with Mississippi procurement requirements. And this alleviates pressure off of the city or the county, as well as the homeowner. It also offers protection for the city or the county and the homeowner. Okay, and if they go along, it's like 4 stages of this when this grant is being released, the grant money to raise your house, and the grant admin company will oversee every last bit of this, because it's complex and these guys know what they're doing. Okay, and that's why they make their money. They get their money as 5% of the award letter. And when they write out this grant, they include that. So the city or the county, there's no financial problem for them. They're not going to have to come up with any money. They are the pass-through entity. And then the grant admin company oversees everything. Okay. And like I said, the grant admin company receives 5% of each grant awarded. So that covers that. All right. Now, once again, sorry. In the situation with the two identified homes in Bay St. Louis, that's mine and April Bird's down the road from me, our city attorney was stating that the Mississippi Constitution did not allow the terms of the grant funds released due to Section 66, citing that a government entity could not give a donation to a private individual. I countered with the grant is not the same as a donation, but to work around this concern and let everybody's, not be stressed about this, private legislation was drafted by Representative Tim Ladner, and he will be your champion if you are in his district. And even if you're not, he helped us at the same time. He drafted private legislation, and it was voted in favor to allow Bay St. Louis to move forward with the grant. So it authorized them. So it basically gave them a protection against any fears they had of violating Section 66 in the Constitution, which basically says that a government entity in Mississippi cannot donate to a private individual. But a grant, there again, is not the same as a donation, but I can understand their qualms, and so this takes care of it. So then I wrote, so it may be a necessary step until Mississippi makes a definitive conclusion that a federal grant being released by a city or county as a pass-through entity is not viewed as a donation. So it may be that, they did for both of our properties in the same legislation. So when the grant admin comes in and identifies people in your city or your county that are going to be able to partake in, have an application put in for their property for this grant, either SWIFT, which has to be disaster related. So we're praying we don't have that, because the FMA will mirror it. It's non-disaster. Then they'll roll in for your private legislation for y'all's grant. They'll roll in all the people in your area. They'll put in their addresses for the private legislation. And then what happens, Governor Tate Reeves wanted a full unanimous resolution by our city council to vote that legislation could go to the floor. Our city council that is headed up by our president, Doug Seal, they did that. They got a unanimous vote. It went back then, and it was voted on the floor, and then Tate Reeves signed it. When was that? May 13th this year. Oh gosh. So anyway, that's what it takes. I'm going to share this outline on Good News for Bay St. Louis. I'm also going to put in my phone number and my email, but what you guys have to do is find out if you're severe repetitive loss or projected. Do you have NFIP insurance? And also, if you're not identified as that, get with your city engineer, your floodplains manager, and get them to find out if they just need to issue you a letter stating that you're either severe repetitive loss, or projected to flood. And that is what you're going to need to be identified for this. And for a lot of people, it's not that difficult to get that identification. If you flooded, you can identify as that. And you have to have NFIP insurance. So that's it for right now. I will post the outline on the Facebook page. And guys, I sincerely encourage you to get that outline to your city officials or your county officials, your county supervisor, because they need to start now, because like I said, that portal's going to open in October. And do you know, we've not had tens of millions of dollars taken advantage of in the past 2 years because nobody applied for it. We didn't even know really to apply for it. So no more head in the sand. We've got an outline. We know what's possible. But now y'all have to start beating the drum. We need citizens to beat the drums loudly. Okay? All right, y'all take care and have a blessed day. Bye.